We're back. Hello. Hello. Hola. Hola. I'm here. Oh my God. And StreamYard is lagging. Not me paying all this money and then getting ripped off. Don't even get me started. I'm in a petty mood today. Hello. Welcome back. Hola. Hi. Okay. Conversation. Little housework before we get started. Last night. All right. You know, like when you hook up with someone and it's like terrible, and then you like come back and you're like, okay, I did the walk of shame. Okay, let's move on. Like move the on. Okay, we're gonna do that. Like pretend last night didn't happen and you didn't see me here. It was a figment of your imagination. Sorry, truly, from the bottom of my heart. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so I had a file with all the text messages, and then they just like cut me off. And I thought the file was too big. Wait, pause. That's what she said. Well, I thought the file was too big, and I'm like, oh no, like, what am I going to do? I couldn't open it last night. And so then I figured it out. Yeah, I figured out. I had to re-download it and open it with a different program because there's so many damn pages. And I'm like, okay, well, should I have thought of that before I started the live? Yes, Melly, you should have thought of that. Well, no, because who's going to sit there and read 31,000 pages or go through 31,000 pages and check for that? We cut me some slack. All right. So we're starting over. Like we're leaving off where we left off on part 11 of the live. So if you were here last night and you heard the first hour, suck it up. Suck it up, baby. Suck it up. We're gonna go through where I last left off. So we're starting over. Last night never happened. It was just a terrible time. I was actually really upset about it. But anyways, I'm just being my dramatic self. Hi, I'm Melly. Welcome to my channel. We are on part 12 of the Mackenzie text. And before I get started, disclaimer, I know a lot of other channels are doing this content. I said this last night. And you do what you want. If you're going to cheat on me, fine, go cheat on me. But a lot of other channels are using the same content and no hard feelings. Trust me, if we had a problem, you would know. I've been very open on my channel about my past, who I am, and other channels that I support on here. And so if I had a problem with other channels, which I'm flattered, baby. Is my hair too big? Is my head? Like, is it too big? Because I'm flattered that bigger channels are coming to me and accusing me of saying that I stole content from them and I didn't. We all know that's not true. But anyways, so thank you for being here. This is about the text. So we can, if you want to catch up on a Melly After Dark, I do Melly After Darks, and we just shoot the shit there. I don't know. If you can hang, you can hang. If you can't, you can't. And that's just period. You know what I mean? But I welcome everyone and hello, welcome. We are super cool here. So for all the new viewers, hello, I am Melly. Let's get started. We were on page like 8,000 something, but I'm starting all over from last night. So let's go. Oh, I didn't say hi to everyone and shout out to all my mods. Hello, everyone. But it says that you're blocked. Then I actually was blocked. Nobody's blocked on here unless you're a hater. If you're giving hater vibes, I'm going to block you. If you're getting, I want to talk shit about Melly, I want to come to her channel and talk shit, I welcome that. Like, I've been very open about who I am in my past and everything above. So can we all move the fuck on and just get started? Okay. Anyways, hello. Somebody said other channels be skipping around. I've never talked shit about any channel in specific up here, and there's very few that I support on here. I was known as Mod Melly before I had my channel. So I modded for Vinny Politan. I modded for many channels. I was modding for up to 23 channels at one time. So don't come at me with like, Melly, you're copying me. Because at this point, like, I'm gonna show you because that's not what I'm about. And I'm not here for anything but to talk about true crime. It's besides the point, and like I appreciate all the support on YouTube, but like my goal here is not to be like a grifter. Like I don't need that. I'm doing this because I like true crime, and I do pay for my own stuff, and I do my own stuff. And if other people have the same content, that's fine. Everyone's different. There's room for everyone. And if I have a problem with any channel directly, I will absolutely tell you guys here. I've always been very open about that. So I don't want anyone to get it twisted before we get deep in this relationship, right? Because we're just starting, baby. It's 2020. It's 2020 in the text messages. We got 2 years to go. 2 years from the date of the text messages to the crash. So it's a long time. That's a long time. We're going to get through it. I am planning on doing a Mackenzie marathon this weekend. And I was just going to go through like a couple hours of this because I was like, boom, boom, boom. Let's get it done, baby. Let's get right to it. But I know some people don't like the long form content because they're like, Millie, I don't have 4 hours to sit there. So I'm going to break it into pieces, but we're going to do a marathon this weekend. So if you're in it, then let me know. Show up, come over. We're going to get down and dirty with these text messages on the weekend. I just kind of want to like get through them all. You know, I'm in that mood. To just like, I want to get to 2022, and I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cut. I want to go through the beginning. I think everything prior to their relationship is just as important as after. Like who you are in the beginning of a relationship and throughout plays a big factor in who you are in your present relationship and how it's going to be in the future. Like how you choose to act and treat your partner plays a big role. Anyways, so I'm done ranting. Shut the fuck up, Melly. What are you doing? Okay. Anyways, okay, let's get started on the text messages. So I left off on they were going to get Chinese food. Oh, no. Not the haters. Oh, my God. It just makes my head bigger. I'd rather wait until you read them. Yay. Hello, everyone. Sarah G's back. Shout out all my mods. Jamie, Cree, Sarah G. Sarah G, I'm so sorry. You better not be cheating on me, Llama Goat. Abuelitas, where are my texts? I'm gonna scoop right now. Okay. Let's get started. So we left off on Chinese food. No, I saw you, Sarah. Okay, so wait. So we left off on Chinese food. We're starting over from last night. Can you guys see that? I have to hop back and forth. Okay, yeah, you guys can see that. Oh no, not me opening up a different browser. Not me thinking I was perfect. Okay, let's get started. So she says, want to get Chinese or something like that. And I'm moving a little slow here. And she says, or Chick-fil-A. I don't know why my computer's moving so slow. She says, hey, baby. Oh, let me make these smaller. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to make these smaller. I know they're still hard to see sometimes, but it's fine. It's fine. So she says, hey, baby, the next day. And he says, hey, babe. And she says, how'd you sleep? Also, is your poison oak gone? Okay, yeah. So this is where we left off last night with the poison oak. And he said it's getting there. So we're starting over because I ended the live last night. He said it's getting there. She says, mine is pretty much gone. Do you want to hang today? And he says, I think I'm going to chill with Thomas when he gets off work. Mackenzie says, when is he off? Dom says 4, so we can probably chill till 4. And she says, okay, yay. What are you doing now? Want to hang now or at 1:30? And he says, yeah, I have to take a shower in a little though. And she says, that's fine. This is on July 16th, 2020. And then she says, yeah, to what one? She says, now or 1:30? And he says, whatever you want. She says, okay, I'm going to get ready right now. On my way. Where are you? ... Question mark, question mark. She says, K. He says, on the way home? Question mark. I told you I had to leave real quick. She says, no, you didn't. And he says, don't be a bitch. Oh, yeah, I was freaking out about this part last night. I was freaking out about this part. What? Like, I'm sorry. If a dude calls a woman a B word, I am not cool with that. Wait, let me restart this screen share. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's really, really disgusting. And I just think, hello, I think that's really disgusting that he calls her the B word. Let's move on. He says, don't be a bitch. And she says, excuse me? Question mark. You said you had to shower. And if you want to leave, I don't know why you couldn't scoot. But I'm here now. When are you going to be back? He says, 5 minutes. She says, where did you go? He says, next door. I can't find the cap. She said, for the pen. And she says, I'm coming over. Are you in the house? She says, baby. How much for the Puff Plus? So she's basically selling for him. She says 20, question mark. I remember we went through this last night. He says 15 or 20. And she says, okay, thanks, baby. Wait, babe? How much is 2 puffs? 40? Question mark. Or 35? And she emphasizes it. And he says 30. And she says, okay. Sorry, I was gone looking for shoes, he said. And she says, it's okay. Did you buy any? And Dom says, no, not good prices. Didn't see any for you either. And she says, how many places are you going? She says, 2. Dom says 2. What size are you? Mackenzie says, I mean, in men's, 5.5 or 6. Girls, 7, I think. And he says, okay. He's asking her what size of shoe she is, and he sends shoes, a picture of shoes. And then he says, those wouldn't fit. And she says, no, probably not. 5 barely fits. I can fit a 5, though. What? And he says, or maybe that too. She says, it'll be tight. I got 4 sales for you today. Wait, why does she say that they won't fit? She says, I can fit a 5 though. Or maybe that too. It'll be tight though. Also, I got 4 sales. And he sends another picture of shoes. And she says, I got the blue ones of those already, baby. Those are cute though, she says. I got the blue ones for like 100. She says, I'm also waiting for someone to come right now. This white car passed me like 5 times and they keep going fast AF. And he says, would those fit you? Who's coming to you? And she says, no. And Gwen, I'm a 7 women's size. Me and my mom and dad are going to Square 22 tonight. He says, that's dope. And she says, are you coming over tonight? And he says, I didn't see kicks. She says, what do you mean? And he says, any shoes we might hit another store. She says, where y'all at? And he says, with side. And she says, that's where the good West Side. And she said, that's where the good stores are. Did you get any? And she says, I want to see what you got. And Dom said, no, didn't see any good deals. She says, oh shit, I thought you meant just for me. And she says, I for sure thought you got some. He says, no, none for either of us, babe. She says, I hope you find some shoes, babe. Did your friends get any? And he says, no, they can't pay those prices either. And she says, LOL, what are you doing now, boo? And he says, just got home. She says, can I come back over, babe? She says, I got sales for you. And he says, yeah. And she says, okay, I'm on the way. I'm waiting outside, she says. And he says, here. Dom sends, oh wait, was that the next day? Dom says here, and she sends TikToks. She says, we should do that. Was that the next day? It must have been. 7/16. Oh no. He says here, she sends a TikTok. She says, we should do that. And he says, it just took me to Amazon, the link. And she says, really? He says, yeah, it worked now. We could pick berries, babe. And she says, I want to do that. The berries would be so good. And she loves his message. And he says, okay. She says, what are you doing, babe? He says, in bed. This is the next day. She says, me too. I woke up early. She says, I don't know why. And he says, now that you and Lexi Morning are, now that you said Lexi and Morgan are effing, I really see it because they're posy weird. And she says, oh, their post is weird. And she says, oh my God, what did they post? He says, they post weird. You'll see. She said, we started a conspiracy. And Dom says, oh, with them? And he says, LMAO. She says, yes. Also for cabins and Lexi's getting all the food. I'm going to pay your $10. Oh, yeah, I remember this from last night. She said, so I'm going to pay 20. And he says, so you're giving Lexi 20 for food? This is when Dom was trying to be cheap. And she says, yeah. Dom says, what if we got our own steaks? And she said, she's getting food and alcohol. Dom says, like some filet? And he means like filet mignon. And she says, I'll tell Lexi we're going to do that then. And Dom says, I'm getting my own alcohol. And Mackenzie says, oh shit. Dom says, ask her what kind of steaks. Mackenzie says, what about burgers? He says, I don't care about burgers. That's just seasoning on ground meat. And she said, she's not getting fillets, so we're getting our own steaks. She's getting everything else though. And Dom says, what kind of steaks is she getting? And she says, sirloin. She says, I think, LOL. And Dom says, oh, okay. And she says, so Lexi's getting everything else. Want to see the list? Dom says, sure. Mackenzie says, okay, let me screenshot. She sends a screenshot. And she says, look at Saturday dinner. They must be going on a trip here. She says, look at Saturday dinner. And he says, ask her to get limes. She says, okay, bet. He says, a lot of them. And she says, okay, LMFAO. Some guy just added me by search. She said, with a weird ass name. Dom says, who? Let me see. Ooh, Dom's getting jealous. She sends a screenshot. Dom says, I don't know. Some foreign dude. Mackenzie says, I thought it was a plug. Dom says, I don't know. Everyone a plug nowadays. Mackenzie says, LMFAO. True. She says, I got a huge ass bug bite on my leg. So itchy. And he says, gross. And then she says, what are you doing today, baby? And he says, right now, I'm chilling. or I'm cleaning out the shed. And she said, is it messy? He says, if you want, Mackenzie says, if you want, I'll help. And he says, yeah. And she says, are you still doing it? And he says, mm-hmm. She says, I will help, babe. And he says, no, I'm already mad. You're not going to be able to do shit. Oh, yeah. And she says, that's okay, baby. She says, also, 𝐼𝐸𝐳 is going to be at my neighborhood at 2. And then she says, hey, babe, are you good? And he says, yeah, I'm still cleaning. And she says, oh, shit. How's that going? And he says, time consuming. And she says, 𝐼𝐸𝐳 is in my neighborhood and shit. And he says, can you get me food? And she says, from where? And he says, I haven't ate breakfast and doing this all day. Do you have turkey at your house? And she said, let me ask. He says, all I need is turkey and we have none. And I want to make a sandwich real quick. She says, we probably do. And she says, what are you doing, baby? She says, I'm asking right now. Oh, yeah, I said this last night. I was like, why doesn't she know what turkey looks like? Like, can she go and figure it out on her own? Let me see if I can switch these to another screen because it's kind of slow. Does she not know what turkey looks like? Okay, anyways, let's move on. What? Hold on, I have to check in with you guys. Oh, thank you. We saw them say I love you like once. Okay. Let's see. And so he says I moved him to another screen, so I'm gonna be looking over here. He says we still cleaning and shit, and she says we don't have any. Sad face. I can still get some for you. And he says, do you have chicken? And she says, yes. He says, really? She says, I think, hold up. He says, what kind? Like lunch meat, chicken, not like chicken tenders or something. And she says, a screenshot. I don't know why she said I don't know why she said yes. We don't have chicken, but that's what we have. Oh, her mom. She's talking about her mom. Sorry, babe. I'll go buy you some though. And he says, London broil is a steak, I thought. Can you just give me deli turkey and salami? She says, I don't know. To be honest, I don't eat it. She says, yeah. And he says, from Giant Eagle. She says, right now? ? He says, I'm hungry, so whenever you can. She says, okay, I'm going to get ready and then come over. And he says, oh, okay, hurry. I might die. Dom's dramatic. And she says, okay, LOL, I will, babe. How long till you're here? He says. She says, I don't know. I'm waiting for my mom right now. Soon, though. I'm going to get food for you, though, babe. And he says, let me know. She says, okay, I'm getting it. She says, right now, at the checkout, okay, so she's getting there. She's at the grocery store getting the turkey, you guys. She's over there getting the meat on 7/17 at 6/18. And then at 8:34, they're already having problems. They're already fighting. They're already hanging out and having problems. And she says, if this how tonight's going to be, I'm going to just leave. All I asked for was attention, and you had to be mean for no reason. She says, I honestly might leave because you're being mean just to be mean, and I don't deserve it at all. I tried to help you as much as I can. I even brought you food today. Like, I'm not asking to go do shit. I'm asking for you to give me attention. And I could have just said this to you when we were in the room, but you gave me no time and just left the room before I could pretty much say anything. I want to stay. I've been waiting to see you all day, and this is not how I wanted my night to be. If you're mad and you're just trying to chill, you and Angelo, let me know. And he said, you're being fried. Suck it up and we can kick it or go home. Last night, you dreamt of me when I did this live and I had to end it. But anyways, being fried, What does that mean? Like, you're fried? Like, fried chicken? Like, what does that mean? He says, you're being fried. Suck it up and we could go home. She says, how am I being fried? Question mark, question mark. I don't know. Where you at? And now I have hella anxiety. She emphasizes it. He says, you're overreacting. Where are you? She says, question mark. LOL. Okay, Dom. And he says, in the kitchen? Question mark. Do you have headaches or just migraines? Is this the next day? This is the next day. At 12:47 a.m. Well, it's literally 1 o'clock in the morning almost. He says, do you have headaches or just migraines? She says, I don't have any right now. He says, you think you could just not be eating enough? I wonder how they jump from like that to this. She says, probably, to be honest. He says, can I help you eat more? Wait, if my boyfriend was telling me, he was like, can I help you eat more? Like, rude. And she says, I've had like no appetite. Shit sucks. And if you find ways without forcing me, LOL, LOL. And Dom says, you can't tan too much either. You know, like, okay, so when we read these last night, the live isn't there anymore. When I read these last night, I was just like, okay, maybe he's being controlling. But like, then today I was like, right now I'm like, wait, he's telling me like, you can like what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's a way of like manipulative abuse in relationships, even if it's just verbal. Like, controlling what someone can do throughout the day is like crazy. He says, you can't tan too much either. And she says, why? Tanning be so fun. He says, overexposure to sunlight gives headaches and nausea. She says, oh shit, that's 100% it. I'm probably a little dehydrated, she says. And he says, look, in the morning, when you get up, don't go on your phone, text me, and then go drink a glass of water and have a little bit of fruit. And then we'll figure out lunch and dinner together. And she says, okay, I'll try. She says, I hate doing nothing. That's why I tan. And he says, let's just make you healthy. I'll do it too. And she says, I want to be doing something. And he says, no more junk fruits and getting fit. She says, okay, bet. You doing this with me though? And he says, that'll probably make you healthy. She says, I hope. And he says, I'll do it easier than you probably. She says, LOL, probably. I look cute right now, by the way. And he said, yeah, let's try to limit phone use as much. What if we did a 0 dark 30 and deleted Instagram and all that? She says, maybe not that far yet. Well, try the diet. We'll try the diet. And if that doesn't work, then Insta next. And Dom said, you get headaches a lot. Looking at screens too much could be part of it. This part like bugs me so much because he's trying to be like, social media is playing like a role in our relationship. And I think that's absolutely true. But I also feel it's a means of controlling someone in a relationship. Like, if you have to tell your partner, like, don't have Instagram, don't have whatever, controlling much, as Cree said, or like you're just insecure and you need to like get over that. And I know that's really hard. Baby, we can do that here together. Like, this can be a whole ass therapy session. Like, I can be your therapist on Mellyverse in a world where anything can be possible. No, I'm not a professional, but like literally, like, come on. Like, if you're that insecure, like, come on, let me be the one to tell you, like, you're a bad bitch. Don't even worry about it. Like, you got this under control and you just need to remember that. Like, do I need to walk you through like bad bitch 101? I might have to do this on another live, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel so bad that she's letting her boyfriend like tell her like, you can't be on Instagram. You can't have social media. Like, that's just crazy. He wanted to protect her mental health, but he cheated. Why he cheated? That's fucked up. He only kept her around because she was the only one who would put up with his behavior. Yo, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was breaking her down as he was building himself up. And I'm not just saying that like against men. I'm not picking sides. I'm just saying both partners can be doing that. And that's just messed up. He says, you get a lot of headaches, a lot to looking at screens. Much could be part of it. She says, maybe. Smokey's waiting at the door. And she says, all right, good night. I love you, babe. And he says, good night, babe. I love you too. Oh yeah, last night I was like, this is the first time we hear them say I love you. The next morning she says, good morning. I'm about to drink water and wash my face. This is the first night I slept good in so long. Holy shit, my whole family is making me crazy today, she says. Thank you, Ash Bish. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, baby. Ash is contributing to documents that I am getting tomorrow. Yes, I have submitted a FOIA request for something. I don't even think you guys are ready for it. I'm hoping that the documents I got are something that I can come on here and talk about. I really am. I'm praying. Love. Thank you, Ashbish. All of the money that you guys help and donate here and support to my channel, it all goes to like FOIA requests. And I just submitted a FOIA request on a really crazy case. I'm not gonna tell you. But I should be getting in the next few days, and I'm hoping it's exactly what I'm hoping that I want. But anyways, your contribution helps a lot. So thank you, Ashbish. Mackenzie says, holy shit, my whole family is making me crazy today. She says, baby, I have a surprise for you too. He says, bet, what is it? He says, did you eat fruit today? She says, it's really cute. And yes, baby. She says, I'm trying to show you. Dom says, what did you eat? He says, what you want to show me. She says, grapes and blackberries and water. And she says, I want to show you right now. She says, FaceTime me. She says, did you find them, baby? Babe, what was that? She says, are you outside? It might be Birdie making sounds. Dom says, I don't know, for real? Probably Bernie. They in Angela's room now. Mackenzie says, it was loud. LOL. Dom says, I'm in the bathroom. I had to take a shit real quick. She says, of course you did. She says, my baby, give me kissy when you out. Give me kissy. Give me kissy. We know taking a shit means something else. I don't know. Is she really taking a shit? Maybe. She says, give me kissy. Give me kissy. It's the age difference. I know. I agree with you, Chris. Surprise, I'm going to... Oh, wait. Peaches says, Chris, I'm... His poor butt. Oh, my God. Peaches says, not all saying he's a good person, but Dom's words and text messages makes him seem even worse at times. No, it does. She says, give me kissy when you out. Okay. Dom says, okay, I gotta hurry because wood is burning. She says, okay, bet. She says, when you want me up. Also, good night, baby. He says, I don't know, when you get up, come over so we can get ready. This is at 8:35 a.m. on 7/18. And she says, okay, bet. Give me a little, though. I feel kind of weird still, she said. He said, I'm so tired. Come over. We got to go to Jared's in like an hour. Mackenzie says, okay, I'm coming. She says, I'm going to get ready right now. I'm getting the wood right now. Speedway, right? The smoke shop. She says, what kind? He says, yeah. He says, sweet or aromatic. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. He says, or Russian cream. He says, or original. He's getting blunt wraps. He said, no black Russian, honey, honeyberry, or honey bourbon. She says, LOL, okay. She says, I'm here. And she sends a screenshot. And then he says, Mackenzie says, babe, did I do something? babe, my stomach is effed. He says, probably constipation. Maybe we should go on a really strict diet. She says, you do it with me then. He says, I'll try. He says, but I don't really have to. Why does he say that they should go on a diet? Because Dom feels like it's necessary, but then he's like, I don't really have to. It's just you. I don't know. I think that's sus. Hold on, let me pull up this file again because oh my god, so insane. They both should be bulking. I just don't think he should be telling her like what to eat and stuff and like I don't know. I just don't think that's right. Okay, let's see. He says, but I don't really have to, but I will, he says. The next day on 7/21, she says, good morning, baby. He says, good morning, babe. She says, can you try to fix my necklace sometime today? I just woke up thinking about it hella. How did you sleep? He says, I don't know if I can fix it. A jeweler definitely could. She says, I bought a new one. Would I just have to pay a jeweler to fix it? She sends a screenshot of a dog, and she says, Dom, Morgan's mom has coronavirus. She's in the hospital. Dom says, it's a scam. He's talking about coronavirus. She says, that's what I told her. But now I'm weird AF. And he says, well, maybe now we can all have fun. Mackenzie says, do you think I could have gotten exposed to it? You're talking about cabins? He says, yeah. Dom says, and no, you're probably fine. Her mom is probably fine. Mackenzie said, it's really sad because her mom's so nice. Dom says, unless the hospital does some shit to her, yeah, her mom's nice and Morgan's a bitch. Mackenzie says, I feel really bad for Morgan though. Dom says, yeah, I don't know who I'd rather have, get Morgan or Lexi. Mackenzie says, OMG, Dom, I feel like Morgan and Lexi are chill when they're not together, but them together is annoying. And Dom says, I hate them all. She says, I feel it. Go on Twitter. Kanye is wildin'. She's talking about Kanye West. Mackenzie says, he's a crazy MF. Dom says, Blair still want to go cliff jumping. Mackenzie says, today? ? Dom says, yeah, it's not hot though. She says, it honestly is. She says, I'm sweating my ass off and just sitting outside. She says, I'm down to go. Dom says, okay. She says, when is this happening and where? Dom sends a screenshot of where it's happening. He says, I don't know. I probably don't want to go because Blair just loved talking out his ass. Mackenzie says, it will be fun. I think we should go. But it's up to you, she says. And also, Phil added me and is trying to be friends. LMFAO. I'm being mean though because he could get hella vapes. Dom says, LOL. She says, right? And he says, I don't think I want to go. I'll probably just bawl. She says, damn, sad face. I kind of want to go. She says, but where are y'all bawling? He says, Mackenzie says, and will Mallory be there? Because if she is, can I come? And he says, no, and no. She says, okay, ... Are you good? Like, that was just a question. You don't got to get all mad, babe. When should I have my birthday party? She says, the 19th, the 9th or the 18th. Sorry. She said, or the 3rd or the 4th. Why are you leaving me on red? Sad face. And he says, she questions it. And he says, because I don't want to text. She says, well, at least you cannot be a dick for no reason. I haven't done anything to you. Dom says, all I did was text All I did was not text back, but okay. Mackenzie says, I'll leave you alone if you're mad, but you can at least answer my question about the party. He says, I don't know about the effing party. She says, all right, I'll talk to you later. He sends a Snapchat. And then she says, bruh, Morgan is still trying to come to cabins. She said, I texted Lexi and she got defensive AF. And he says, what do you mean? Dom says, Lexi is mad. Is she still trying to go or mad because of something I said? And didn't Morgan still not pay? Mackenzie says, that video is sad AF. Dom says, I know, it's some facts though. Mackenzie says, I'm so scared that I'm going to become that. Like, what if I can't get the job I want because of my grades? Like, I didn't even get into Polaris. Dom says, that's not the point. That's the wrong point. And she says, that's how I seen it. How did you see it? And Dom says, that's why you don't work for some other jackass and you work for yourself. Mackenzie emphasizes it. And he said, that's why you read books on cause and do the shit that they didn't teach all the rest of the clone students learning the same thing. And she says, OMG, WTF, you're right, Morgan didn't pay. And she says, WTF? He says, yeah. And she says, bruh, I'm about to not let her go. Dom questions it. And she says, honestly, I have no idea about that. Lexi is just being weird AF and a bitch. Dom says, what's she saying? I would wait just another day and then say your mom is about to cancel because everyone didn't pay. Mackenzie says, like, I texted her about it, what we should do about Morgan. And I asked her if she should talk to her. And she said, yeah. Then I asked, what do you want to do? And she was like, well, me and Devin still want to go, but that wasn't even the question. And she got defensive. If anything, she should be worried. She has a whole ass baby. Dom says, bruh, I swear to God, this shit's going to be retarded. You should just give me their money back, me and you and Kristen, and Kyle will go and bring other people. Mackenzie says, I want to do that, but the trip is in like 3 days. And who else would we bring? Dom says, who else gives an F about Lexi and Morgan been annoying AF for like a whole month now? And Mackenzie says, I texted Morgan and she said, yes, I'm aware. Dom says, plus I won't ever hear from I don't ever hear from any of them unless they need something. And Mackenzie says that I need you to pay before the trip. Dom says, I would just cancel it. Mackenzie says, I don't think we should do that. You know, this is a form of manipulation. Like, she's saying that she wants to, Dom's like, cancel the trip with your friends. But she's like, no, they would all be pissed. Like, they would all be upset. And, you know, I think that's a form of manipulation as well. And she says, I don't think we should do that. He says, cancel, 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 F them. Me and you can have our own vacation, he says. And then Mackenzie says, I'd be such a bad person if I canceled it. Thinking about it stresses me out. Dom says, nah, I'm going to ask Kyle what he thinks. Okay, let me know what he thinks, says Mackenzie. This shit is annoying. Dom says, because for real, you say something to them, they're just mean to you, and Morgan hasn't even paid. Mackenzie says, I really can't. Dom says, but Sheen and Lexi paid, right? And Mackenzie says, yeah, they paid second. Mackenzie says, like, what would I say to them? Dom says, I would just say your mom canceled the trip because Morgan didn't pay. Mackenzie says, we can't do that. It's really shitty. Dom says, no, it's not. Mackenzie says, like, Lexi got all the food and shit. Dom says, they shittier. Lexi is such a shitty person, Dom says. And he says, I yearn for Lexi to get fucked over. Mackenzie says, they will hate me. I just can't do that. I will feel too bad. Dom says, Lexi will be irrelevant by next year. She says, and if you say something to them, they will know I talked to you about it. Dom says, Lexi used to get me back when Sheen, then dogged me my life and I never seen Sheen again. Then the baby trapped him. She says, I really don't know what to do. Dom says, this is what I'm going to say. Lexi doesn't talk to you all year, but wants to come around when she's trying to have fun so she can use you and your mom like for the cabin. And she was trying to use her in her minivan. And she was just trying to get me to give her free shit for buying groceries, Dom said. And then her mom can't babysit the baby. She just picks Morgan as her new bestie. Morgan's mom will buy her clothes and babysit and all of that. Mackenzie says a screenshot of a message. And then he says, and then what? And Dom says, only give them $70 back each. Mackenzie says, LMFAO, I can't do that. Find people to go. She says, wanna bring Maddie? Like, we don't even have food. Should we just shop there? Dom, they're mad. I told you. And he says, who's mad? She says, the girl group chat effed right now. She says, so much shit going down. She says, Kristen is going off on everyone. And Dom says, that you told what? And she says, I'm in the group. Dom says, add me and Kyle. She says, that's a bad idea. Dom says, what's going on now? Mackenzie says, I'm on FaceTime with them. Kyle, AJ, and Kristen. Dom says, what? And then he says, question AJ and Kristen. Mackenzie says, Lexi said she's coming. Dom said, she said, y'all dumb. I want to say she's the one who can't take their birth control right. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Mackenzie says, LMAO. Dom says, right, though? Mackenzie says, we're all talking at 8:30 and 9. And Dom says, what? And Mackenzie says, we're going to Kyle's later to talk about this. And Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, look how dumb she's being. Dom says, I know. Mackenzie says, do you want that Isabel girl and her boyfriend to come? Dom says, I don't know them, and Isabel's kind of annoying. Mackenzie says, yeah, true. Tell Kyle. And then Dom says, well, Lexi, Devin, Chris, and Morgan ain't going, so we need 4 people, and AJ is coming, so only 3 more. And Mackenzie says, who do you want to bring? She says, tell Kyle you don't want them to come because they asked me on FaceTime. I said, I don't care. Mackenzie said, I'm so stressed out right now. This is so bad. Should I unadd her? And she emphasizes it. Dom said, yes. Tell her at least I know how to take birth control. Mackenzie said, she's spamming me. That's so mean. I'm not saying that. So Dom is telling her to be mean to her friends. Dom says, I will. Mackenzie says, that can make you and Devin not cool. Dom says, I don't care as long as he's with Lexi. I'll probably never see him anyways. Mackenzie says, I guess. Dom says, what's going on now? I asked her why she's spamming you. She didn't answer. Mackenzie says, my mom gave the money back. Dom says, how much? Mackenzie says, I don't open her message. I didn't open her message. The amount they paid? ? Dom says, she should have given her less back. Mackenzie says, no, they have a baby. I know you don't care about Lexi, but the baby is important. And Dom says, the baby should get taken by child services. She drank, smoked weed, and fucked while she was pregnant. They're calling Lexi out. I know. This is sad. Mackenzie, you're always stressed out. Yeah, that's right, Kim. Hi, Kim. And then Mackenzie says, yeah, for real, but that's not our place. Mackenzie says, I understand, but when pregnant is effed. Dom said, yeah, maybe she didn't know she was drinking, but she still can't talk about anything. Mackenzie says, yeah, for real. She says, babe. She says, did you chill with Devin? And he says, what? She says, we possibly could have it. Like, F them for not telling us. I'm so effing mad. Dom says, I think she was saying she didn't know by then. Mackenzie says, I don't know, bruh. This is so effed up. And now we don't even know what we're doing about food. And Dom says, we'll get food tomorrow. She says, okay, we'll talk about it with Kyle tonight then. This is so effed up. Dom says, I know, I just told her off. Mackenzie says, who? And it's funny, though, that Lexi said Morgan can't get tested because she's not 18, but my 5-year-old got tested. Like what, pregnancy? A pregnancy test? I'm confused. And Dom says, Lexi told her to go take her birth control. Mackenzie says, OMG, bruh. Are you for real? Mackenzie says, that's bad. What did she even say? Dom says, she said that you're a child, etc. And I said, the F you talking about? Mackenzie says, OMG. Dom sends a screenshot to Mackenzie of the text messages. Mackenzie said, she's done. I went off. Dom says, I wouldn't have said anything, probably going to make you look more childish. Mackenzie says, I don't give an F. She's a dumbass. Thank you, Ladybug. Ooh, Mackenzie says, she's a dumbass. I just unadded her. This is how she's talking about Lexi, her friend. Mackenzie says, she can go F Morgan. Like, she told me shit about that could ruin her and Devin. Like, she want to play that game. Oh, this is when Mackenzie's starting to blackmail her friends. And Dom says, should we expose her about fucking Bella Elawan? Mackenzie says, I'll go tell Devin. No. Dom says, did she fuck Morgan too? Mackenzie says, if anything else happens, yes. And I don't know. Dom questions it. Dom gives me narcissistic vibes. I know. Okay. Dom is very narcissistic. Okay. Listen. Okay. Oh, hold on. I'm going to share. This. Listen to this from.
You would never lock me out of the house again. That is why we got back together last time we broke up. But I forgot.
You broke up with me earlier.
Word because you are a little fucking weak bitch.
You broke up with me earlier. You really broke up with me earlier.
This is your last chance to open the door, or you are not coming out of this house all night, because I will not leave.
You literally broke up with me earlier. Like what is the point you're trying to, like, you broke up with me, like, earlier. Like, what
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You said we're not together. You really said that shit. Like, you really broke up with me earlier. Like, what are you trying to make? Like, why would I just let you in the house if you break up with me? You're threatening to break my shit. Like, you're threatening to key my car, threatening to break the doors.
I will key your car if you do not let me in the house.
You're going to key my car if I don't let you.
If you don't let me in the house, yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. So just let me in the house.
No, like, why can't you just be like calm at least for a second, and I can feel comfortable running in the house?
I am calm. I don't think you get to decide that with your fucking weird ass, like, trauma problems.
You really threatening to fucking key my car and shit. What else are you threatening?
Dom, I'm gonna give you one last chance to open the door. I'm gonna leave and do what I said I was gonna do.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna give you one last chance.
Kenzie, look. Let me go to dinner.
No.
You can let me go to dinner, and then I can let you come over later.
No, you're not. Because I'm coming to dinner too.
Why? You should have told me you wanted to come.
Okay, so that's like, you get an idea. You get an idea of what she sounds like in these text messages. Sorry, let me fix my headphone. That's what she sounds like. That's who's in these text messages. No, definitely. She's crazy in these messages. Oh. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's continue. He says, I questioned, I'll go tell Devin. She says, then what are you threatening to tell him? Mackenzie says, I didn't tell you. And Dom says, what? So here she's keeping a secret from her for her friend, and she's threatening to blackmail her friend, but she ends up telling Dom. And he says, what? He says, Mackenzie says, I'm going to tell you, you know? I'm going to tell you now. She says, but call me. And Dom says, why? And she says, I don't want to text it. It's really bad. Babe, please don't tell anyone, she says. It's between me and you. She says, and she apologized to me. I'm just not going to accept it. She says, okay, question mark, question mark. He says, she apologized? Mackenzie says, yeah. And Dom says, oh, okay. Mackenzie sends a screenshot and she says, I don't accept it. So she sent a screenshot of Lexi apologizing. And Mackenzie said, I don't accept it, but I'm not going to beef with her because I'm a good person, says Mackenzie. Please, just forget I said anything. She said, I was really mad. Me and Lexi talking right now. Babe, don't be mean to her. Babe, you want to sell 3 puffs? She emphasizes it. Dom, can you answer? She says, like, if you can decline, you can answer me. And he says, sorry, I'm just dealing with something in my thoughts. Mackenzie says, are you okay? And he says, no. And she says, what's going on? Do you want to talk? I want to be here for you, baby. I'm worried, she says. And she loved it. She says, babe. He says, it doesn't hurt as bad as it used to. Mackenzie said, babe, what's wrong? She says, talk to me. He says, I'm okay. I'm sorry, babe. And she says, no, you're worrying me. What's wrong, babe? Call me. And she emphasizes it. And then he says, I'm fine, babe. Just leave me alone for a little. And she says, okay, you can always talk to me. I'm here for you. She says, I'm really worried. Oh my God. Streamer's messing with me. He doesn't want to vent to tell her about it. Okay. Or is he manipulating her? I don't know. I have a hard time. He also discloses potential child abuse later on. He needed and deserved drugs. He doesn't want to vent about her. Just because she's a narcissist does not mean that he isn't either. I agree. He was also adult dating a child. No, and this is very toxic. I agree with Kim too. I'm just getting caught up on the comments. Kenzie's definitely a malignant narcissist. I think he's trying to match her energy. I think once you become accustomed to someone like this, I think you just become it. I've been in that position before where I've been in a toxic relationship and it just gets bad. It's almost like out of your control sometimes. I'm not taking her side. It's manipulation, but I think it also depends on people's like mental health, right? Like, I think it depends on like how people are handling things. And if it's a really bad relationship, how does that affect you and how you act towards that person? Can it be crazy and get crazy? Absolutely. I'm not taking anybody's sides here, but I'm just saying, I'm speaking from like a relationship standpoint / mental health point of view. So she says, I'm really worried. And this is on July 21st, 2020. She says she loves it. And he says, honestly, I've been hurting for so long. Like, these are the type of things that concern me. Like, yeah, Melly, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Elise. Even with the character defect, she could have done way better for us. You know, oh my God, are you coming for me? I just think in the last few days, I've thought about this and I'm just like, you know what? I've been in that place. I know it's so vulnerable. And I know many people who have channels like don't want to talk about their bullshit and their shit, but like, I don't know. I feel like I need to. And so I can relate to this. Like, I haven't been in this of a toxic relationship before, but I've been in a really bad mental place. And I think many of you in the chat can relate to that. And so I just think like, imagine that they're both so young in a terrible mental place. Like, mental health is everything. And I just think like it's detrimental. I really am a big believer that I've said that many times on my channel. I don't condone any hate about mental health. I don't, because I've had my own issues. I don't come up here and judge people who have had issues either, or a criminal past or anything like that. I'm not that type of channel. And so I want people to see me for that. But I also feel like they both were hurting here. I think they both didn't know how to handle whatever it is they had mentally going on. And it just turned into a toxic relationship. And yes, as humans, we know right from wrong, but I feel like this is fucked up. Like, their parents should have intervened. It's a bigger situation than Dom and Mackenzie dating. I think there was mental health issues before, whether it be in childhood or in teenage years. I feel like both of them had issues before, and that's something that should have been a red flag to parents. And I don't mean like, oh, every person who has mental health issues is a red flag. I just mean in children and in children up to 25 years old, when your brain is fully grown. I feel like you have to, I don't know. I just think this is terrible. Like, this is terrible as we read these text messages. He says, honestly, I've been hurting for so long. And she says, about what, babe? And he says, I think I'm better, then I just hurt more. She says, do you want to talk to me? You're worrying me. I can come over and we can talk. And he says, no, I don't want to talk about it. I can't. And she says, I'm worried about you, babe. It's making me sad. She says, I don't want you to be sad. And she says, is it about me? And he says, no, babe. And I'm not just spitting my shit here. I'm meaning like, and recognize red flags, even with people you love. Like, recognize when someone is just like crying out for help, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or physically. Like, just recognize the signs, right? And that's why so many of us cover true crime here. And so I feel like this is a perfect example of like relationships. And like, if you don't want your kids in this relationship, if you've been in this relationship, like, let's be real for 1 minute, you know, like, no one wants to see their kids going through this. You and I can be here on this live and we're thinking like, no, we wouldn't want to see our kids going through this crazy bullshit toxicity. But it's like, how do you prevent that? Like, I just want to look at it from a different perspective and be open to it. I don't want to be so shut off as to like how these two people got to this relationship where she felt like she needed to kill her boyfriend at 100 miles per hour. Like, that's the climax of the story, right? Like, how did they get here? She says, Dom says, no, babe, I don't think I am who I was before. See, these things are like red flags to me. Maybe I'm just a toxic ass person. Like, maybe I have issues, or maybe not. Maybe I've just been through it and have had a professional help. And this is a red flag to me. These text messages are like going off in my brain. Like, when he's saying, I don't know who I am, like, it's giving very much like split personality, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, maybe even trauma disorder. Like, it's giving very much that. I don't know. I don't want to go into a spiel about mental health, but you know what I mean? Like, let's just all come to that conclusion that, you know, there's so much more going on here. Jamie says, yep, Melly, definitely conform with trauma bond. He does end up telling her what it is later. She uses that against him. Well, I mean, just aside from the Mackenzie case, you know, like in real life, like recognize that with people and just even on YouTube, just even on the YouTube streets. She has absolutely zero self-respect. It's really sad. Yeah, no, it really is. Look at her mom, though. She was totally like a pageant mom. I do agree on that, Millie Lynn. I do agree that her mom definitely plays a role in this. I'm not knocking that. I absolutely believe in that. I do. And many of you can come for me in the chat. Like, I absolutely believe that, like, your environment is what you're known to. Like, maybe it's because I'm a science major, but like, I believe that, like, what is around you, what you see, and how I very much believe in the elements of like science and spirituality. Like, I believe what you go through does play a role in your psyche. So I feel like someone should have stopped this. End of all, we're not getting into spiritual talk. We can do that on another life. But I feel like it very much like how are they allowed to date each other? That's basically what I'm saying. Like, how were they allowed to be in this relationship for so long? 5 years. Dom says, I don't think I know who I am or who I was before. I don't think I am who I am. Or if that wasn't who I am. And she says, is that a good thing or bad thing? Are you not happy, babe? And he says, no, babe. She says, Dom, I'm really worried about you. You can talk to me. And he says, nothing's the same. And in these instances, like where Mackenzie's like, I'm worried about you, I feel like that's legitimate. I feel like she is very much caring for him here because she's like, what is going on? You know, like she's trying to understand, even though she has her own mental problems. But this to me is like so sad. Like, Dom's like, no, nothing's the same. Like, he's in his own world, and whatever mental health struggles were involved, like, you know, that just sucks. As much as we want to be assholes about stuff. Well, because I'm definitely looking at the parents like, oh no, honey. Oh no, boo-boo, you fucked up there. But like, when I see these text messages, I think like, damn, this is actually quite sad. Like, how would you feel if your kid was texting this? Nothing's the same. I don't feel happy. I'm not the same. Whether it's Mackenzie or not inflicting that upon him, it's like you don't want to hear your loved one saying this type of shit. So he says, nothing's the same. He says, it never will be. She says, what is not the same, babe? He says, nothing. I'm just still broken. And she says, babe. And he says, I didn't think I was broken. But I've been broken for so long. I don't know. It's kind of shitty. I feel like her self-serving, selfish behavior, aka narcissism, triggered him and his behavioral challenges. Kenzie's a psychopath. He is not. I agree, Kim. I do. I think this is why concurrent is fair. Her parents created and gave her everything, and if she's the first child, they spoiled the F out of her and they created a demon. Jamie says, yep, I recreated my home life and my relationships. Oh my God. And I love this. This is why I come on here. Like, I didn't come on here because I wanted to create true crime. As much as that's true, I wanted a place to connect, and I have been in this place. And that is what is like so beautiful about sharing this content and coming together as one and like reviewing this. But without me getting like into that whole spiel of it, I think like we all have similar experiences, right? And I just want us to remember that. He says, but I've been broken for so long. She says, why are you broken, babe? You promise it's not me. Baby, please let me come talk to you, she says. This makes me so sad. He says, it's not you, babe. And she says, how can I help you? Let me come cuddle you and I can just sit and think and I won't say anything. So many people look at these text messages in a different perspective. And it's, for me, it's like the opposite. I'm looking at this from like, I work in the mental health field. I work in that field. I've had experience in that field. So I'm tripping up here. I'm like, they're screaming for help right here. Like these two children, they're children. They're like 15. Dom's 18. Scientifically, it's said that our brain doesn't even develop until we're 25 years old. Think about that. If you can get away with everything you did up until you were 25 years old, who wouldn't juice that shit? I would. I fucked up so many times. Like, once I come up here and talk about all the fuck ups I had, like, it would be a whole, y'all would be like, what? Excuse me? I'm not one to judge on this kind of stuff. She says, let me cuddle you and I can just sit and think. I won't say anything. Please let me be there for you. She says, you always are there for me. I can get you food and then come cuddle you. And he says, no, just let me chill alone. And this is like beyond the point, right? We're having a whole different discussion on life here. So I'm sorry that I'm the one who went off track, but like, this is what I'm seeing in these text messages. And she says, okay, if you need anything, please text me. And she says, and don't forget about tonight. She says, I love you, babe. And he says, I love you too, babe. So that was on 7/21. He says, my mom wants to know if you want steak. She says, yeah, a little one though. Is she's making mashed potatoes too? Also, when are you going to let me come? Because Kristen's off at 8. She questions it. Babe? And he says, I think so. Maybe sweet potatoes. And she says, I hope it's mashed. LOL. And when are you letting me come over, baby? I want to come now. Babe? And she questions it. And he says, I don't know, not right now. She says, what are you doing right now? And he says, pretty much nothing. She says, okay, when is dinner going to be done? She says, are you going to let me come before it's done? He says, I don't know when it's going to be done. I don't really want to chill though. How do you go from being like, I love you to this? I can't handle it, you guys. She's 15. I can't handle the like back and forth. Like it's really, truly too much for me. He's like, I love you 1 minute. Like, let's hang out. Wah, wah, wah. I'm like telling you how I feel about life. And then he's like, I don't really want to chill though. Been in consistent therapy 14 years, trying to undo complex trauma in a relationship for nearly 8 years. But I don't trust my judgment. Yeah, just Jay. I agree. Some things, it's a forever healing process. I'm not going to get into my story tonight, but maybe definitely something we can talk about later. But trauma is sometimes I feel like it's never like you cannot heal that. It's almost like you live your whole life and it's almost like unreal. And you're just covering for it. Sometimes I feel like I'm painting on a wall and I'm like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am now. But it's like, I'm painting over my trauma. Like those things you cannot forget. Even if you're on meds, even if you do therapy, I'm one to tell you, I've been through all of that. And like, I can sit on here and talk about this for days until I'm blue in the face, literally. And I just feel like this is just, it's terrible to see 2 high school kids going through this. It's just like, sometimes I think, was that myself? Like back then, you know, like, I feel like, is that why I think it's important for us to get a head start on what their life was before the crash, not just after and during, but before too, to get an idea of who people were before this horrible time of a crime. He says, I don't really want to chill though. She says, okay, but at 8:30 or 9, we got to go to Kyle's. She says, why? Why would you ask if I wanted food if you don't want to hang out? I'm confused. He says, my mom wanted to know. You can always come over and eat dinner with us, he says. She says, so you want me to come eat and then leave? She loves a message. She said, I thought I was coming to hang, sad face. And he says, if you want to, I don't want to hang. So he's like, yeah, come over, but I don't want to hang with you. Like, you can come over and hang out with my family, but I don't want to hang with you. What? Does that even make sense? Does that even make sense? Maybe I deal with CP because I can be completely alone and not really care. Cheer up, Melly. No, I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to get all depressed on here. I'm just trying to be realistic. And I'm not one to shy and talk about the shit we go through as humans. It's embarrassing. It's belittling at times. And you don't feel comfortable. But this is my channel. And at the end of the day, like, we go through what we go through and we deal with what we deal with. And I'm not one to knock that on someone. I'm really not. You can call me things. And I've been on these streets for a long time, YouTube streets. You'll never hear me saying something about mental health. Anyways, so he says, I don't want to hang. She says, so now we're not going to Kyle's either? She says, we're supposed to go talk there. Sideways face. I told you not to forget. He says, we can go there, but only for a little. Hey, Witch. She says, now I feel bad that your mom made me steak. He says, why? She says, because I don't want to come eat, then just leave right after. She says, it feels rude. He says, that doesn't make sense. She says, and I don't want to do that. I'm so confused, she says. And he says, okay, don't come then. I can just eat it. And she says, this is so stressful. I'm actually going to take Mackenzie's side here. I know you're all shook. You're like, what? I am. This is hard. For her to be like, I'll come over, I'll have dinner with your mom, like, et cetera, and then for him to be acting like this, like, that's stressful. I'm sorry. Whether you're in a good or bad relationship, like, this back and forth is draining to a human being. Kim says, CPTSD has a life of its own because it's very difficult to point where one's triggers are. And it's important to respect that we have those triggers, right, Kim? Like, I very much so agree with that. Robert says, I deal with depression, anxiety. Sometimes it's hard. And see, this is what I mean. And I love that. We can come here, Mellyverse. This can be like our little cocoon to talk about our problems because, baby, I got tons of them. Tons. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. People sometimes ask me, like, what, how, or what. I really don't think parents were aware of this dynamic in their relationship, the level of harassment and belittling. I think it's somewhat of like an issue for the parents. Like, how can you look at this? And it's almost kind of like the unknown number, you know, where she like harasses her kid and stalks her kid. But I feel like, how do you, and I don't blame parents. I don't. Some parents don't know these signs and red flags. No one's perfect. And so I feel like maybe they didn't think anything of it. It could have been possible. Like, let's look at both sides here. You know, let's be realistic. She says, this is so stressful. I thought we were going to hang out and now just stressed. I thought you asked about dinner. That meant I could come and hang out. Like, I wanted to come and eat. You've been ignoring my calls all day. I just been trying to talk to you. She removes an exclamation mark. And he says, I don't feel well. She says, you think you're sick? Question mark, OMG. Today is so stressful. Now I'm even more worried about you. And he says, no, not like that. I asked you to leave me alone, he says. She said, you said for a little. I didn't know that meant all day. Like, I'm worried about you, Dom. I've been thinking about you all day and you just been pushing me away. And he says, nothing I can do. Not like I'm getting anything else done, he says. And she says, and that's fine. I'm just asking for you not to text me like that. She says, this has been a stressful day for both of us. If you want more alone time, just tell me, babe, because I want you happy. But we really need to figure out this cabin shit tonight. And she says, babe? He says, okay, well, when I say leave me alone, I mean, don't text me either. And she says, I mean, it would be a lot easier to not text you if you were nice about it. He says, too fucking bad. This is quite sad sometimes. Maybe I'm just all up in my feelings. Melly, why are you in your feelings tonight? No, I really am. Like, this is terrible. And he just doesn't want to deal with this shit he started with her friends. He needs time to himself too, but like, why keep going back there? Tay says, I had to go through 8 therapists before I found my forever one. The others just made my situation worse. Tay, I can relate to this. It took me a long time, years of finding the correct therapist. So don't let it get you down. I'm very much with you. It takes a lot. And unless you're willing to go through the work, it's a dark fucking place. He can't even, and he's done. He asked to be left alone. I agree, Mallory. I still haven't found my forever therapist. Well, don't give up. You'll find them. For me, it took a lot of work and a lot of years, and I gave up many times. He says, too effing bad. He dislikes what she said. She said, thanks, babe. Sad face, she said. Can you ask Kyle if they're still trying to figure out about cabins tonight? She removes an exclamation. She says, okay. And he says, okay, I will. Probably tomorrow. And she says, are you still in a bad mood or can we text or something? He says, I'm okay. We're not talking about anything though. And she says, I never said I was going to. Do you want to hang out? Or FaceTime? And he says, no. Babe, he said. And she said, thanks, Dom. And he said, we can go to Kyle's and figure it out tomorrow. She said, okay. Then she said, sideways face. You said you're okay, then you're not talking to me. Like, how do you think all this is making me feel? You can't even ask me what's wrong. You just left me on red. He says, okay, I'm sorry. We will talk tomorrow. She says, sorry, quote unquote. You always say that, but it's not going to change how I feel right now. I've been sad all day. I tried to be there for you, and that's okay if you want to keep it to yourself. And he says, why? Because of the cabins? She said, and Lexi and Morgan, shit obviously stresses me, but like WTF? He says, yeah. She says, and cabins is probably going to be effed. And when I try to talk to anyone, I get left undelivered or ignored. She says, like, you can't even talk to me or FaceTime me. You literally said no. How do you think that shit made me feel? I don't even want to talk. You make me mad, or I don't even want to argue, she said. It just sucks. I've been stressed out AF all day. I haven't stopped thinking about it. Oh my God, I'm dying. Maybe I'm just on one tonight, but like, this is terrible. She is like giving into his mental health issues and his tendencies and his bad habits, and he's just playing right into it. And like, this is truly the definition of a toxic ass relationship. Like, I feel like we might need some dabs. Like, are y'all good in the chat? Like, I'm over here having a mental breakdown. He can break. I know, but why doesn't he break up with her? She just can't stop making it about herself. Hey, Jules. Aw, Jules. Thank you for being here, Jules. Heart, Jules. Jules says it's been a year. I met you a year ago, and I just wanted to thank you for all the laughs, Melly Mel. Love you, Jules. Thank you for being here. I'm not one to ever knock anyone that I truly loved. So with that being said, thank you, Jules. That's so nice of you to say that. I'm just vaping here. Listen, Tay's like, I don't got time for this negativity shit. No. Tune in, you guys. We're going to have like a Melly live. Like we're going to journal time. We're going to like journal and talk about our feelings because I'm so much that person. I'm very comfortable with talking about like really dark stuff that I've experienced in my life. And so like, I hope you guys are into that. Pause. Not like we're a creepy channel, but like, I think talking about like real life shit, other than what you see on the social medias, you know what I mean? I'm into that. Like, I like that shit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sick in the head and you're just here for it. Maybe you're sick in the head, but I love you for it. So can we really judge each other here? No, absolutely not. And that's not what my channel's about. So with that being said, she says, it sucks. I just been stressed AF today. I haven't stopped thinking. Dom says, well, I'm dealing with my own shit. Get off my ass. And she says, OMG, that's not even the point, Dom. Never mind. I knew you wouldn't understand, she says. I'm just saying I'm stressed out and I want to talk to you to get everything off my mind. She emphasizes it. She says, I guess I'm going to just go to bed. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, sad face. And he says, good night, babe. I'm so sorry. I didn't see this. This is the next day. She says, my dad just effed up my whole party. This is on July 22nd, 2020. And she says, my mom was literally down to leave and shit. Then we tell my dad and he's effing saying if I have a party, he's not leaving. Like WTF. So now we need to find an Airbnb. And Dom says, that don't matter. And Mackenzie says, what doesn't matter? And he says, the house. She says, my dad said he would stay in the basement and doesn't care if we drink, but like WTF. Okay. What is going on here? My dad say he would stay in the basement and doesn't care if we drink. Steve, Shirilla, you're letting underage people drink at your house. Okay, fine. But like, why are you staying in the basement? Clearly, there's something, not me being dick. There's something here. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, what the is going on here? What, Steve Shirilla, why are you staying in the basement? We're all mentally unwell, gang. Thank you, T Driver. Everyone who's mentally well, please hit the like button. Please join Mellyverse. We're all mentally unwell. I'm here for it too. I love it. I absolutely think you all are perfect. Not making me emotional. Do her parents file for bankruptcy? I probably, when they stand into the power, project what we're being mean and we're not. They just want us to let them have control. Okay, so Steve is staying in the basement. You're not crazy. I am. Said Kim. No, really, you're not crazy. I'm totally the crazy one up here. No, but why is Steve staying in the basement? Okay, so she says, he said he would stay in the basement. Doesn't care if we drink at 15. Okay, my parents, I would have people over sneaking in at my house. We should probably have a live about this. Like, Melanie tells her deepest, darkest secrets. I used to have people like sneaking in out of my bedroom, drinking at my house, but like My parents would never allow this. Like, I'm crazy. I'm up here, but like, absolutely not. Like in the real Mellyverse, like my parents would never allow me to have friends to drink. I know you guys are shocked. You're like, how did we get her from them? Like, it doesn't make sense. But like, I could never, dude. My dad was so against this. I know you're shook because I like shaking my ass up here. But like, no, really, like, this is crazy. She says, my dad said he would stay in the basement and doesn't care if we drink, but like WTF. My mom was literally down. And why doesn't it matter? She says, question mark. What the hell? She says, question mark. So you stop talking mid-sentence, then hang up on me? Why you always be so mean these last couple of days? WTF happened. I'm telling you, I'm upset about my birthday. Like, you shouldn't get mad. She emphasizes it. You never listen when I try to rant to you, she says. Dom says, you complain about the worst day ever or worst days of this year when it's just some little thing. That's barely a big deal at all. And she says, not knowing what I'm doing for my birthday is a big deal to me. You really don't know how stressful this is. He says, we can just go to 𝐤𝐥𝐲-𝐕𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐞 again. She says, Dom, it would just be me and you if that's what we did. I have like no friends. You know, when you're in a toxic relationship and they try to like disconnect you from your friends and your family, I'm screaming. What do I have to do? Stand up here naked and scream at the top of my lungs? Like, you guys know what I mean? Who's been here? Like, I feel like 𝐤𝐤𝐲, I don't know what the fuck 𝐤𝐤𝐲 is, but hi, Melly. He's probably, I like crazy. My ADD entertained me. I don't drink or curse in front of my parents. Thank you, Tay. Just like selling, that's called coercive control, but I'm not a doctor. No, it is. Hey, me, Pennsylvania, where the hell have you been? I had a mother like Mackenzie. Please do share, Stephanie. No, I like to hear this. I never had a mother like Mackenzie. So I'm up here like pulling my hair out. Like, what the is going on? You know what I mean? Indoor water park? Who am I slipping sliding on? I would love and have laughed the deepest belly if my daughter asked me to do this. Kenzie was drinking with her dad when she was 13? Oh my God. Anyways, she says, I have no friends. She says, I really wanted to have a big party for my 16th birthday. Sad face. Who would come if we went there? She removes a question mark. She questions it. Dom, she says. And he says, everyone. Who's everyone? She says. Dom says, my family and your family. She says, that does sound fun. I don't know what to do. Dom says, I don't know either. You decide. Mackenzie says, I honestly don't want to be around my parents. I'm probably just mad right now, but thinking about being at Kalahari with them makes me want to flip the F out. Imagine you're like your parent, like imagine Natalie Shirilla on the phone calls and then like imagine them here. She doesn't even want to hang out with her mom. Is there something wrong with this story? Like Rebecca says, I live 15 minutes from Kalahari. Oh, that's really cool. She was buying cigs and weeds from friends by the time she was 15. Like, this is just crazy. She says, makes me just want to flip the F out. And when I said no one would come, I meant friends. Like, I have no friends that would come. She says, babe, why you decline but not text back? It's low-key rude. She moves an exclamation. Dom says, maybe because I'm in a rush looking for my keys. She says, that's all you had to say. Like, chill. can you answer the other questions when you got a sec though? He says, well, you could have waited a second. She says, I waited like 10 minutes. Stop trying to argue with me, she said. I don't want to have another day like yesterday. It really upset me. Also, can you text Kyle and figure out a time that we all need to meet up? No. We need to figure out food or we can just go shopping in the PA. Babe, I got you 2 vape runs. For real? Don't ignore me now. And he says, bet. Who? She says, Wyatt and maybe Gwen. Wyatt, did you can drop whenever? Guava ice puff. Gwen wants 3 puff. She's going to hit me up what she wants. Can you call me though? She emphasizes it. Oh my God, can you call me? Like, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark? What is going on? She says, this shit isn't fair. You said sorry to me in like 30 minutes and you only said leave me alone for a little. If you told me you needed longer, I obviously would have left you alone longer, but you never did. Also, I told you that if you ever need anything, you can talk to me about it. I don't need you to take out your stress or anger on me either, especially when I'm stressed too, she said. She says, I don't know why you keep picking fights. And he says, I'm not. She says, you said none of this was about me, but you haven't been nice to me in one day. I want to talk to you and hang out with you, baby. Babe, we need to figure out cabins ASAP too. Dom says, okay, I'll hit you up in a little. Mackenzie says, thank you. He says, okay, we can in like an hour or so. Me and Kyle going to chill with Kyle tonight. What? Dom says, me and Kyle going to chill with Kyle tonight. Mackenzie says, what? LOL, what? She says, oh, you're going to go to the other Kyle's tonight, question mark. And then she says, bruh, Morgan's not getting tested because she has no symptoms. Wait, are they talking about a pregnancy test here? She said, Morgan's not getting tested because she has no symptoms. Pregnancy symptoms? Thank you, Sherry. We love it here. I love you here. And then Dom says, that's fine. Mackenzie says, Lexi, Devin, and Lainey all got tested today. Or is it, what is she talking about? COVID? She says, are we going at 4? When do I need to be ready? She says, or am I coming to your house first? He says, I don't know. No, I need to do more sales, Dom says. Mackenzie says, can I come with? I want to hang. Or scoop after. Or at 4:30. OMFG. What the F is wrong with you? I literally do nothing. Dom says, what the F is wrong with you? Mackenzie said, this shit isn't my fault. And he says, no, now I don't even want to bring you to Kyle's. She says, what the F? I've been so nice to you when all you do is be a dick. Like, I don't deserve this. I was the one who asked you to hit up Kyle, but of course you're trying to leave me out. Did you forget cabins is in 2 days and now we're missing 4 people and we don't even have a food plan? Like, how fucking rude. Like, I don't know how the F you do it every single time, but you make it seem like it's my fault. Like, I'm not even being a bitch. You want me to leave you alone, then you treat me like this? WTF. What the F happened? Like, stop trying to argue with me, she says. She emphasizes it. She emphasized we can go to Kyle's. She emphasized, I didn't see this. She emphasized, probably tomorrow. Dom says, text me one more time. I'm not going to cabins. She says, you are so fucked up for that. I literally can't believe you said that shit. Dom says, you texted your request will be filled. She says, you are such a DICK. What the F happened? Why do you treat me bad again? Why can you say this shit so easy when you know it hurts me? You know I've been looking forward to this trip, and if you do this to me, this is what I'm gonna do. And he says, text me one more time and I actually will not go. She says she dislikes it. And he says, don't do that either. He says, sorry, I was being mean, but really, just leave me alone for tonight. Whoa. Okay. What the fuck just happened here? Wait. He goes from like being mad at her and then like, I'm sorry. You guys, it's too much. Like, this like back and forth, the unstableness, he's looking for an excuse. Dude, it's too much for me. Rugs will F you up. I don't think rugs are involved. He's just as nuts. This is crazy. Like, how do you blame Mackenzie for going crazy over this? Okay. Are you going to come for me? I don't agree that she was okay in killing Dom in the car crash, but I believe that he was a factor in her mental health issues. This is crazy. Yeah, she could have left. Well, we're not going to get into it. This leads to like this and this and this. We could be up all night talking about this conversation. But like, I just feel like this is crazy. He says, sorry, I was just being really mean, but leave me alone for tonight. He's like, I love you. Like, let's do this. Let's sell drugs, all this stuff. And then he, like, whenever he wants to be a dick, he's a dick. And she just like takes it. And then she's crazy. Not even the dabs will help at this point, you know? He says, sorry, I was just being mean, but really just leave me alone for tonight. The next day he says, good morning, babe. She says, hey, I'm just chilling right now. Shit went down with Lexi today again. He says, like what? She says, I'd have to show you. Mackenzie said, she's such a bitch. Dom says, we linking up with Kyle soon. She says, yeah, I FaceTimed them. Lexi made Kristen cry. When are we going? Dom says, I don't know. Before 4:30. Mackenzie says, well, do you want to hang soon or do you want to go hang before we go? She questions it. She says, question mark. He says, I'm cleaning and about to do laundry. She says, can I still come over and help you clean? He says, I was going to pick you up when I go to Kyle's. She says, that's fine. That's fine too. I was just saying I don't want to have you now. Also, please pack my green swimsuit. Dom says, I put it in the washer. What you gonna need that for? She says, the trip. He says, on the way to pick you up. She says, I want to bring it to the cabins. He said, I thought they didn't have a pool. She says, we can still swim. He says, where? He's pretty much. Mackenzie says, okay. She sends an address. She says, what are you doing? She says, are you in the kitchen? So this is the same day. She says, come in here. He says, come out here. She says, come over at 9. Wait, oh, okay. So that's the next day. He said, come out here on 7/23 at 8:38 p.m. Then the next day on 7/24 at 8:30 a.m., he says, come over at 9. Oh no, Mackenzie says, come over at 9. She says, Jay, a little in here. Not a lot though. It's a little loud though. Dom says, okay, bet. Get outside now. Oh, go outside now. Can you hear it? She says, yep. She says, loud AF out here. He says, loud? Question mark. She says, yeah. He says, come in here. She says, okay. I actually left you alone for a while and you're still sitting in there being a martyr. Like, it's so frustrating that you're taking it out on me. And he says, you say, wait, you're way more of a martyr. You can't even let me chill for a little. Wow. She says, I'm out here trying to have fun. You are just sitting there being mean every time I come in. Whatever, I don't care, she said. Dom says, okay, well then don't come. Don't come in, he said. She said, Kristen is mad at Kyle right now. She mad that he came out. Get orange juice, she said the next day. So, well, that was at 4:27 p.m. And then she says at 7:14, get orange juice. Hit me up in the morning if you want to go to breakfast still. She says, good night, baby. I love you. And he says, love you too, babe. I have cells and stuff and I'm super tired still. To be honest, we can go tomorrow morning. She said, okay, baby, that's fine. I just woke up and I'm trying to sleep more, to be honest. He says, yeah, I woke up at 8:30, so tired. After a good night's sleep, I'll be back to normal. She says, I might shower right now, to be honest. I haven't washed my hair in a while, she said. Dirty ass Mackenzie hasn't washed her hair in a while. Dom says, I'm going to give Joey some vape soon. If only he didn't vape. Mackenzie says, poor Joey. Dom says, I have a really good idea. Election masks. Joe Biden. Trump. Or Joe Jorgensen. Mackenzie said, that's a good idea. We could make hella money if we do that. He says, for real, we just got to figure out how. Mackenzie says, I'll ask my mom. What are you doing? She said. He said, I'm trying to figure out what day I should have my party. That's what Mackenzie said. Dom said, stopped at Kyle's, about to go home soon. She said, what are y'all doing? And will you help me find a good day to have my birthday? Because it's coming up in 5 days. Dom said, we just smoked and I grabbed a couple things to leave. Do it a couple days after your birthday, where you want to have the party. Mackenzie says, my house probably. Or if you can find close, Airbnb. I can't have it till the 8th. That's Lexi's grad party. I feel like that's bitchy. Dom says, okay, we'll see. She sends pictures of sneakers to Dom in the next few messages. She said, come to Kyle's after other Kyle's on 7/27. She says, we're going to be there. And he says, okay, I'll probably do that. And she says, okay, bet. Bring chips. She says, salt and vinegar or cheese ones. She says, babe. She questions it. When are you coming back, baby? She questions, when are you coming back? He says, I don't know, for real. We all having fun. I will bring those back when I come back. That's what Dom said. Mackenzie said, who's all there? Dom says, me, Kyle, Connor, and Luis. She says, what if we pull up too, LMFAO? If it's cool, if not. Dom says, no, I don't think so. She says, that sounds fun, though. Dom says, it's all right. She said, LMAO, okay, baby, have fun. He says, okay, baby. She said, should I sleep over at Kristen's? I might go. And you and Kyle can have a sleepover too. Dom says, if you want to, I don't know, we'll end up having a sleepover. I don't know if we'll end up having a sleepover. Mackenzie says, LOL. She says, I'm really tired right now. I want to cuddle. She says, when are you coming here? And he says, soon. She says, come. My hoodie smells like you. I love it, she said. He says, cutie. She says, good morning. This is the next morning. She says, I accidentally took that a bud home. He says, what? Oh. It wasn't much. You can keep it. She said, are you sure? Oh, she's talking about the bud. She said, yeah, my room stank. She said, that gas. She said, that's gas. And he said, yeah, I don't care. She says, LMAO, okay, baby, how'd you sleep? She says, Dom says, pretty good. She says, me too. I'm still tired somehow, though. LMFAO. Dom says, just gotta catch up on sleep, probably. She says, probably. I've been sleeping hella. Dom says, yee. She says, I'm watching Shameless. What are you doing right now? Dom says, I'll FaceTime you in a sec. She says, okay. She sends a TikTok video. He says, babe, Kristen still hasn't answered. Sideways face. And he says, about what? Just don't text her. She says, I'm bored. I thought we were chilling and now I have no plans. I think 𝐼𝐸𝐷𝐸 just robbed Jaina. Never mind. He just fucked her over hard AF. Dom says, what did he do? We can still chill later, babe. That's what Dom said. And Mackenzie says, he told her on the way she went to the meetup spot and she was there for 4 hours. She wants 2 carts from you. I'm also selling right now. He says, nice. She said, send me vape prices. Dom sends a screenshot of vape prices. Wow. So Mackenzie was totally helping him sell weed and sell substances and rugs. That's crazy. Oh, thank you, Rebecca. That's crazy. He says, you can probably charge a little extra. And she says, he sends screenshots. Not Dom trying to rip everyone off on the carts. Running a daycare during COVID of your home that your child smokes weed in is insane. Thank you, Peaches. That's true. So he says, he sends a screenshot and she said, thanks, baby. Then she says, you cut off the name. How much for X bar and hide curve? Never mind. 2 hide. Circle ones. Babe, answer, she said. He says 2 hide 16, X bar 13. I don't even know what that means. What's 2 hides? What is that, like a vape? What is that, a blunt, a weed, a joint, a weed? Is it one weed? No. 2 hides, $16, X bar, $13. Is Dom selling them Xanny bars? By Xanny bars, do you mean Xanax? What is he saying? X bar? Oh my God. I'm shook. Not Dom selling the Xanny bars. Absolutely. So he wasn't just selling the rugs, like them weed plants, like them joints, puff, puff. No, he was selling the Xanny bars too. Not me giving you an example. I'm going to have to cut that out. But the Xanny bars. Oh no. Someone said, I hope Natalie Shirilla watches Melly. I'm waiting. Okay, you guys know on the Tiffany Lucas case, if you haven't watch that on my playlist. Bitch is crazy. I had the district attorney hit me up on that. So I'm like, it's a matter of time, I think, before Perk or Norco. It's a vape. Oh, the X bars? They're vapes? It's not Xanax? Either way. Either way. I bet the prince tried to medicate Kenzie. Oh, they're vapes. 2 hides is probably hydrocodone and yes, Xanax. Wait. Oh my God, someone. Cree's like, oh, Xanax, vape bars, baby. It can be anything you want it to be. I thought vapes until I heard X bars. Hey, Fairy. Those are pill prices, said Carrie. This is not no vape bar. Wait, what? Vape bar? No, this is not no vape pen because I buy vape pens. This is a pill. I think they're talking about pills. They're talking about Xanax bars. Xannies, alprazolam, if you may. If you guys don't know, I worked for Big Pharma for a lot of my life. Melly, how old are you? 2,000 years old. I'm a witch. I've been here for a very long time. No, but I'm just kidding. Xanax bars, they're X bars. I think it's Xannies. 2 milligram bars. Okay, those are pills. He's the plug. They're vapes made into weed vapes. Yo, regardless of what it is, he says 2 hide bars. He says X bar, 12 actually. She says, well, I got 20 Hershey's bars, like the chocolate bars. Zanny the nanny. Joel says, Melly, you're not old. Rolling my eyes. Wait, Zanny the nanny. No. That case terrifies me. Hershey's bars. I like to make s'mores. S'mores? S'mores. Zanny drinking can't stop your breathing. Yo, he was selling to high schoolers. Her mom was running a whole ass daycare. With all them Xanny bars. Not for the children, I'm just saying, in their home. Allegedly. My opinion only. I don't know. I'm going to be posting videos this weekend of Mackenzie just taking bong rips out of her room. So at this point, I'm like, anything could be possible in that home. She says, well, I got 20. Dom says, is it for you, babe? Don't be vaping, babe. Oh, so they must be vapes. She said, no. Gavin. She says, well, does he want 2 puff bars? She said, I gave him 2 hides for $20. The tube ones. He says, nice. She says, when are you coming home? She says, I'm ready to come. He says, on the way. She says, okay, can I come over right now? And he says, want me to scoop? She says, yes. She says, Dom says, be there in 1 minute. She says, okay, yay. She says, where you at? Are you good? Look at the door, please, babe. Or lock the door, please, babe. And he said, which one? She said, back door. He said, okay, it's locked. She said, also, I love you, baby. Text me when you go to bed. Oh, so they must have hung out. And he says, okay, I'll FaceTime you soon. She says, okay. She says, okay. She says, breakfast, baby. And he says, hey, babe. The next day, she says, hey, baby. She says, what are you doing? He says, tired as shit. We were up till 4. Mackenzie says, damn, that's late AF. She says, well, did you get the whole room clean? Dom says, pretty much. She says, wow, that's crazy AF, to be honest. Everything is in bags. We getting the bed and shit out. That's what Dom said. Mackenzie says, damn, but the bong room is a cool ass idea, to be honest. Want to go swimming somewhere today? Or canoeing at Wallace Lake or somewhere? I have canoes. Dom, you and your family is invited to my birthday, August 2nd at 6 o'clock. Your mom can come, anyone in your family. And he says, okay. She says a blank message. And then she says, answer the other stuff, babe. He says, I don't know. I'm super tired right now. She says, oh, yeah, that's fine, baby. Nat wants vapes. And Phil. Dom says, okay, we can do them in a little. She says, okay, bet. How long should I tell her? Hour or less, Dom said. She says, okay, bet. I have another vape cell, she said. Julian wants one now. 3 cells, baby. What one has most hits? She says, 4 now. 6 now. Oh, she's like selling for him. He says, nice. Give me some time. She says, okay, hit me up soon, baby. She emphasizes it. He says, okay, who do we all have and when we gotta do it? She says, Natalie, Phil, Julian, Jacob. I need you to go to your house so I can show them what vapes and how many hits they have. Dom says, okay, you want me to take you or are you doing it yourself? Mackenzie says, you. He says, okay. She says, can I come over? He says, yeah. She says, okay, on the way. She says, I'm so mad. Dom says, I'm so mad. Don't bother me or try to touch me. Whoa. So okay, Mackenzie last responded on my way on 7/29 at 1:32 p.m. And then at 1:36, he says, I'm so mad. Don't try to bother me or touch me. She said, okay, babe, where you at? She said, link message. And he says, wait, so he said, don't try to bother me on 7/29. And she says, and then the morning at 5:12 a.m. She's like, okay. And he says, how are you up? And she says, I don't know. I could ask you the same. And he says, just woke up. Cutie. But then he says goodnight because he's just going to bed. So he's waking up at 5:14 a.m. and then going to bed. There's definitely drugs involved here. She says, are you going back to sleep? She says, I'm trying to right now. He says, yeah. And she says, good night, my baby. B-day in 2 days. She says, OMG. So her birthday's in 2 days. She says, I'm so pissed. Okay, we're going to end it there. I know. Don't hate me. No hating on her, on herbs. Thanks, Trina. Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. I know this is during the pandemic. Okay, so we're gonna end it. Yeah, we are. We've already been here for 2 hours. I'm thinking of doing a Mackenzie marathon this weekend. So tomorrow I will be back with more Mackenzie texts. But then on Saturday, I want to do a Mackenzie marathon. So if you want that, let me know in the comments. I'm thinking of doing like an 8-hour stream, just like all day, like Mackenzie texts on Saturday. I don't know if that's too long. I might have to split it because people get mad. They're like, Melly, we don't want to watch that video for 8 hours. So I might have to split it like 3, 3, and 3. But I want to do a marathon and I just want to get through these damn texts. Don't you guys just want to get through these? I know. Okay. Let me know in the comments. No, that's great. Okay. I know. We're ending it short. We're 2 hours in. We're on page 9,634. I need to get through these. So I want to do a Mackenzie marathon. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in the chat. Let me know. If not, I'll just keep doing like smaller videos so all the replay viewers can get caught up. But I'm kind of down to do a Mackenzie marathon this weekend. So if you're down, let me know in the comments. Please. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all my mods. 2 hours in. It's only because I have editing to do. This weekend, we're going to be talking about Brian Koberger. We're covering Brian Koberger case. We're covering the Ukrainian who got stabbed on the train. We're covering a couple of other new cases this weekend. So I got to get ready for that, baby. But tomorrow night, I'm thinking, okay, if we don't do a Mackenzie marathon on the weekend, then I might just be live tomorrow night for extra long. So whatever the vibe is, I might just do an extra long stream tomorrow night, or I might do a Mackenzie marathon over the weekend. So whatever it is, we're going to get through these text messages. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good night.